Hi, Hank here from CDUSA. Thanks for joining us for part 2 of our video series, Azure Site Recovery for in-cloud disaster recovery. In this video, you'll learn how to conduct a disaster recovery failover test, or in the case of a real disaster, an actual failover. By using Azure ASR, we can easily and rapidly conduct fully functional DR testings on entire application suites for less than $1,000. If you have not seen the first video in this series, then please visit our website and go to the Tech Corner and play the video names shown below, flashing right now in bright colors. The first video lays the foundation needed to follow the material in this video. So sit back and relax, and let's get started with this disaster recovery test. Disasters happen. Data centers fail. Even Microsoft's data centers will fail. Protecting against failure is a fiduciary responsibility of any technologist or technical manager who is dealing with infrastructure as a service in the cloud. It is the purpose of this video to show you how to actually conduct a failover test of a resource being protected by Azure's ASR service. You might recall from the previous video that we had set up a resource group called DR Recovery RG, into which we had placed a recovery services vault called DR Recovery ASR. Let's have a look and see how things are running since the time that we had set up this original configuration. In the Site Recovery dashboard, you will see that we have 2 healthy hosts. And the host that we had originally set up was called RMAN P01. And this happens to be the machine that contains the Banner database backups for this client. And then we're also replicating a domain controller. Looking at the RMAN host, and then parsing down to the latest recovery points, we can see that we have several replication snaps that have taken place. And what this implies is that the ASR service is constantly protecting the machine environment. Mind you, this is not necessarily true for application consistency. You might recall that we set up in the previous video application consistency snapshots of 2 times per day. Conducting the failover test simply requires that we click on Test Failover. Note, however, before we do this, we need to ensure that the VLAN in the failover network is not peered with the VLAN to the production network. This is not a requirement, but it's a strong recommendation. We certainly do not want to have a negative impact on production applications when we conduct the failover test. If this were a real failure of the primary data center and we were to declare a disaster, we would click on Failover rather than Failover Test. When clicking on Test Failover, you will note the directions are already pre-selected for us, in this case from East US 2 to Central US. We'll want to make a selection of a recovery point. When I click on Choose a Recovery Point underneath the option Recovery Point, the choices I have are the latest replication that was processed or the latest application consistent replication point. I can also select Custom, and under Recovery Point I can get very specific regarding which recovery point I would want to select. I'm not going to select Custom in this case. I'm simply going to select the latest application consistency replication point. Then I must select the the virtual network to which I want the test machine bound to for this failover test. And in this case, I'm going to select the already predefined DR recovery virtual network. And look here, the recommendation from Azure is that the test failover network be different from the production network. And of course, as a reminder, we don't recommend peering the test network to the production network. And now the operation is taking place. During this operation, the virtual machine and the network interface and other machine properties are being defined. Once this is completed, the machine will be started within the DR recovery resource group. You'll note that we have the virtual machine RMAN P01 test, and we have RMAN P01 NIC01-test. Also note that we have both the replica disks and the test disks. The disks with the name ending in the word test are associated with the machine that is part of this failover test. Let's go into the machine itself and prepare to have a look at things. We begin by setting up the boot diagnostics because we will need to log in at the console. So under settings, we're going to simply enable that and select the correct storage account. In this case, there's only one storage account in that resource group to select. Let's select the console and log on to the virtual machine. And here we go. So let's go ahead and get onto the machine and take a peek. And I'm just going to check to make sure all the mount points are here. And there they are. And we're going to go ahead and look at the production backup locations. And I can see all of my production banner database backup objects here. And that's a good thing. And so the test is completed. Now that it is completed, let's go back into the Recovery Services vault and clean things up. We'll go to the dashboard, and we'll go ahead and pick that machine. And we're going to select Clean Up Failover Test. We can put some notes in here that will be recorded that would be very useful for auditors. Failover test completed without incident. And we're going to click here on this box that says testing is complete, delete test failover virtual machines. This will drop all the objects that were created in the resource group for this test failover machine. And that concludes the failover test. Wasn't that fun? We just completed a disaster recovery test with just a few mouse clicks and everything worked. The test was affordable because we did it in the cloud and we didn't have to spend thousands of dollars on hardware, data center space, travel, and other stuff. We hope you enjoyed this brief series on Azure Cloud Disaster Recovery. If you liked the video, please give us a good rating on YouTube and have a wonderful day.